Hello there, I'm Lloyd Evans. Welcome to Ramacrow. It's time for another voicemail. Today's voicemail is from an anonymous caller. Let's listen to what they have to say.
Hey Lloyd, I'm gonna remain anonymous just because this question has to do with somebody other than myself. I have no problem giving my name for me, but I don't want to involve other people. I'm gonna try to make this as short as possible, but I do need to give a little bit of backstory so that my question makes a little bit of sense. I have a family member who is not a JW. He was raised in it and around it, but it wasn't something that he actively had to go to the meetings every week and things of that nature. Um, and he was in it enough where basically, he wouldn't do things like go to birthdays and celebrate holidays and stuff like that, but it wasn't something he was fully committed to. Well, long story short, he ended up marrying a JW girl, and she very much is a part of it, and he isn't. But they kind of have the type of relationship where she knows that he's a good person, so she kind of tries to look the other way, and some of her JW things kind of annoy him, but he kind of looks the other way. So it's fine for the most part. But I'm getting the impression and the feeling that she is slowly pulling him in and guilting him into things, like, watch JW broadcasting with me and the kids kind of thing. And then, he'll just sit there and do it. And he tends to come to me and ask for my opinion and advice and things. And, I always kind of say, her or everything that she hears from the platform or from broadcasts or whatever is to never give up and never, that you might hear the thing you need to hear at the next meeting. And so my question is this: I don't. I know this is going to sound worse than what I actually mean it to be, but I almost feel like I need to treat him the way that he would or his wife would treat me, if they actually followed the JW doctrine. That is to say, you don't get to have your own version or be a JW a la carte and pick and choose what parts of the faith you want to listen to. So I almost feel like, not that I would like reverse shun him, but basically every time he does something or says something, just kind of put the comment out there like, just so you know, this is what I'm supposed to do. Right now, I shouldn't be talking to you. Right now, this conversation shouldn't be happening. Right now, I should report you to an elder. Like, just to kind of pepper that in so that I can kind of basically make him see that what it is that he's slowly drifting towards is that bad. And not to have a kind of a casual perspective about it, because I feel like that's her approach to kind of luring him in. She's not going for the full on attack and the full on indoctrination. I think she's making subtle comments, and you don't have to go to all the meetings, but do this for me and do this and that. You don't have to go to the meeting, but get the kids ready for me. And it's just kind of worrying me a little bit because I feel like I'm losing him. And of course, he's adamant that that's not the case, but when you're in something, sometimes you don't have the best perspective. You need somebody else to kind of see it for you. So again, my question is, what do you think on, again, not literally reverse shunning, but just pointing out how the rules should be followed every time he brings up a situation and say, this is what, see, right now, if I was a practicing JW and you said that to me, I wouldn't talk to you, or I would go to an elder and you would get a shepherding call, that kind of thing. Just interested in your opinion on that, Lloyd. Thank you for your time, and feel free to use this on your channel. Bye-bye.
Oh, I will. I will use this on my channel. Thank you so much for calling in with this voicemail. Obviously, you have my sympathies. It sounds like this is a difficult situation that you find yourself in regarding your friend who, as you put it, is slowly drifting towards Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm just going to be blunt. I think you're wrong. I think you're coming at this with the best of intentions, but I think you underestimate your relative's involvement in Jehovah's Witnesses as a result of his upbringing. He's essentially already a Jehovah's Witness. It's not that he's drifting towards it. It's not that his wife is slowly pulling him in. You have to understand that when you've been raised in any kind of Jehovah's Witness background, you get indoctrinated. He may have said things over the course of your friendship that have led you to conclude that he doesn't take it seriously. But there's a difference between kind of being on the periphery and not kind of being a strict Jehovah's Witness and understanding precisely why it's manipulative and precisely why it's misleading and abusive. There's a difference between those things. And if your friend hasn't done any research or minimal research into, as they call it, the truth about the truth, or the ways in which this organization manipulates and exploits people and causes so much damage, then I'm sorry, he's, for all intents and purposes, a Jehovah's Witness. I think you're fundamentally misjudging the extent of his involvement, given the fact that he has a Jehovah's Witness upbringing. It doesn't matter if he's like all casual about it when you're chatting and like, oh, you know, I can take it or leave it. What research has he done? Has he read Crisis of Conscience? Has he been on JW Facts? Does he know about the Australian Royal Commission? What research has he done would be my question. I would even ask him. To what extent have you looked at objective information about your religion or your wife's religion, including material that's critical of it? To what extent have you done that? I'd like to know how objective you are when it comes to this religion. And I think you might be in for a shock. I think you might be surprised at how little research he's done. Because once you've done research, once you've seen the man behind the curtain, you can't unsee it. It's like you can't deny reality. I mean, I suppose it's not beyond all possibility that someone in a relationship with a Jehovah's Witness might live in denial regarding what they've seen and what they know to be true, just to keep their spouse happy. I'm sure that happens, but fundamentally, when you know something to be the case, or when you've seen actual evidence demonstrating the true nature of, let's say, an organization, you can't unknow that. So you're impervious, really, to being, slowly pulled into something that you know is harmful and abusive and ultimately not true. So I would question the extent to which your friend or your relative, your family member has done objective research. And I have to rein you in, if you'll allow me, on your proposed plan of essentially being mean to him. And again, I know you're coming at this with the best of intentions. I just don't think that's how you deal with cult followers, to confront them in the way that you're suggesting. To say, oh, well, you do realize that if you do this and I were a believing Jehovah's Witness, I'd have to turn you in. You know, I can understand why that approach might be appealing for you. Maybe you have that sort of relationship where you can be blunt with each other like that. But even when you do have a very open and frank and blunt relationship with someone, it's one thing to kind of have banter between friends, and it's another thing to deal with this incredibly complicated, sensitive situation of someone deepening their association with a harmful cult that's wielding the dark arts of mind control. It's not as simple as simply saying certain things or saying, well, if I were a Jehovah's Witness, this would be happening. Or if you were a Jehovah's Witness, that would be happening. I just don't think that's how it works, at least not in my experience. It's far better to, wherever possible, extend kindness and compassion. If you find yourself in situations where he is approaching you for your advice or your input on something that's Jehovah's Witness related, by all means be honest, but it doesn't hurt to just be a little bit more diplomatic and use the art of questions. Sometimes just asking the right question is enough to sow a seed. And especially if it's a question that's genuine. So rather than you being kind of cheeky and asking questions in a way that might lead him to feel that you're being disingenuous, if you ask an honest question that's rooted in logic so that he can be going away and not necessarily even feeling like he needs to answer you straight away. You could even say, you know, I don't demand an answer to this question now, and there may be no right or wrong answer, but here's something I genuinely wonder about your beliefs. Maybe if I give you the question now, you can go away and we can talk about it another time. Here's my question, you know? Not everything needs to be a battle won. In fact, it's better, I think, in these situations to view it as more of a long-term thing, where rather than it being about scoring points or notching up victories or proving things or establishing that you're in the right and he's in the wrong, it's better to just, again, sow seeds, leave some honest, soul-searching questions for your friend to ponder on. If you want to research this more, and hopefully you will want to research it more because you care about your friend and you want to do this right, investigate street epistemology. Street epistemology is a codified, almost, way of approaching difficult conversations with people who may have firmly entrenched beliefs. Just using logic and reason to ask simple questions that will put people on the right path to hopefully deconstructing ideas or beliefs that don't actually make sense. So street epistemology, please do research it. I think that will be a far more productive line of dialogue than what you're proposing. And please do manage your expectations with your friend or relative or family member, because again, I think they're more involved in Jehovah's Witnesses than you perhaps realize. And you should perhaps prepare yourself for the possibility, the very real likelihood, that your friend is and always was a Jehovah's Witness, and what's happening to him has an element of inevitability. In other words, he's married into it. He may be seeing you for a beer every now and then or whatever, but it's a whole other thing when you're married to a Jehovah's Witness. That's a whole other thing entirely. So just manage your own expectations. Sadly, it may be that no amount of street epistemology, no amount of good questions, logical questions is going to save him. Sometimes it's not about him being dragged by someone else into the cult. It's about him dragging himself in, because that's what's comfortable. That's what he knows. That's what's familiar. So I hope some or all of what I've shared with you is helpful. Don't forget that if you'd like to leave a voicemail, the thing to do is go to speakpipe.com/Cedars, remembering to indicate clearly if you don't want me to broadcast your message on this channel. But that's all I have time for. Thanks so much for watching.